It is not a secret that we have some problems in our community with bad behavior and crime. But what I don't want it to be a secret is that there are initiatives in the community to try to address them. There's an old saying that said, it takes a village. And whenever you have problems in a community, or whenever there are good things going on in a community, it still takes a village. So we're gonna have a fireside discussion with Mr. Grissom, a young man in our community who has an awesome job, awesome responsibility of dealing with some of the initiatives that are designed to make a difference and alleviate the problems that we're having in our community. But I'm going to repeat, it takes a village. We can't expect him and the mayor and those entities that we're going to discuss briefly today to address the problem by themselves. It takes a village. Everybody can play a role. We can make this a better community. And it's not everybody. You know, it's not everybody. It's just a few. But sometimes we get stuck image-wise with a negative image because of the actions of a few people. So I applaud this program. This young man is in charge of and responsible for partly. And I applaud the individuals and entities that are making efforts to approach the problem. This is a call to action. I'm your host, Alex E. Habersham, and I'm happy this morning to be interviewing a young man in the person of Mr. Jeremy Grissom. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, so let's start off, Jeremy, by first of all, give your position and your title, but then I want you to divert to telling us a little bit about yourself before we talk about your job and your responsibilities.
Yes, sir. I'd first like to take the opportunity to thank you for everything that you are doing and everything that you have done. Up until this point, it's easy to point out the problems, but it's a bit harder to get in the community and actually make sure that we're addressing these issues. So I want to thank you for the things that you've done, seen and unseen. I applaud you for your effort. I hope that we can continue to work together to alleviate some of our issues and start to realize what our real problems are. But I am Jeremy Grissom, native of Atlanta, Georgia. I went to Savannah State University, got my degree in criminal justice. Then I went to Argosy University to get my master's in forensic psychology. I have a pretty extensive background in law enforcement. I started off with the Department of Corrections doing probation in 2013. Moved to Macon, Georgia around 2015, where I supervised sex offenders and served as a mental health officer, as well as a field training officer. I then went back to Atlanta for a little while and served as the assistant chief of the Atlanta Judicial Circuit, which is the Department of Community Supervision. Went to the parole board for a couple of years, served as a criminal investigator. I did a short stint at the district attorney's office as the RISE coordinator, project safety net specialist. And I am now the Macon Violence Prevention Coordinator. So I have a good amount of experience with the beginning of the criminal justice system, which serves as the arrest, and then the process of what happens upon release, and also those wanting to be re-released into the community to try to start their lives again.
That's outstanding. Okay. So, you know, it's got a fancy title, MVP program, Macon Violence Prevention. But, you know, I'm going to publicly applaud the mayor and those other individuals who recognize the problem and say, well, we need to try to do something about it. So, and then I want to applaud some local additional efforts that don't come necessarily under MVP. I just said it takes a village, you know, but I know there are some ministers and Herbert Denard who have come up with an initiative with a nice saying, just walk away or whatever it is. So, I mean, that bespeaks of the not only the seriousness of the problem, but it bespeaks of also of the character and dedication of those individuals who are going to try to put together another effort,
Absolutely.
to address the problem that we'll have in the community. But talk about MVP.
So I'm going to try to not to get too excited, because you said a lot of things I want to address, which I completely agree with. But I start talking about Macon Violence Prevention, which was last summer. The mayor and the commission started a couple of community meetings, from 11 to 12 community meetings in different parts of the city, and allowed the community to give their response about what they thought would assist in our problem, because violence is not a new problem. It's a mounting problem. If you look at the data from the last 5 years, it's continued to grow worldwide, not just Macon. I encourage people to look beyond. If you only watch 13 WMAZ, you're only going to see what's happening in Macon. But if you look at the times we're in now, for the last 4 to 5 weeks, we've had mass shootings at least weekly. Indiana, just had one yesterday at the mall, where 4 individuals lost their lives, and 2 are still fighting for their lives. And it's really a public health crisis, and it should be thought of as such. But Macon Violence Prevention looked at what the community wanted, what they asked for, which was more youth supervision, more employment, more police officers, more activities for the youth to do, supervised activities. And upon doing that, we started to build out this program, which is still fairly new, to build out this program to see what it is that we can do. So if I could talk about just a few of the things that are under our interactive map of MVP, I'll start with the Brookdale Warming Center, which has done so much in this small amount of time to relieve those dealing with homelessness. That's a big issue that some of us turn a blind eye to, but it's hard to do that when you get off the exit at First Street, and you see individuals who are struggling with homelessness. We know what happened with the Greyhound bus station. Giving people a place to go where they are safe, and do not have to commit criminal activities just to eat is very important. Public safety retention is a big thing. We ought to make sure that we're not looking at just one piece of the puzzle. The Brookdale Warming Center is one place, public safety retention is another place, but the blight fight is important too. Taking down some of these burnt buildings and blighted structures that are not only dangerous, but they're havens for crime. Imagine a child walking to school in their neighborhood and seeing 7 burnt down houses and trash all the way on their route to school. It's kind of discouraging. I get to go to school where it's nice and clean, and go back to my neighborhood when I'm walking through these buildings or past these buildings where burnt down houses are, and the criminal element is alive and well. And I think one of the biggest ones that we don't talk about is community-led initiatives. Who better to lead initiatives than individuals who live in these communities, that see these problems, and have a pulse on what's actually going on and what's needed. And I think sometimes we miss that, because I've heard it said before, well, what is the mayor going to do? What are the police officers going to do? If this is a community which we all have a voice and we all live in, it's all of our responsibilities. It's okay to go to community meetings and discuss the problems, which we all know what they are, because it's a consistent problem, around the world. But it's another thing to actually take the call and take action on that call, even if there's something as small as saying, here's my idea. If you need help with that idea, there are organizations that might possibly be doing some of what you have an idea about, but your idea might be better. I'm not saying go to violent crime areas and put yourself at risk. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying we all have responsibility to the community that we live in, to patronize this community, to make sure this community is clean and a safe place for our children to go. And the Clean Streets Matter initiative is important too. It's going to take more than just a community cleanup once a week on one side of town. It has to be a revolving effort. And I know that at times people get busy with work, raising children, trying to better themselves, but it's imperative that we sacrifice the time and effort to make sure that this community thrives in the way that it should. And sometimes it's going to take a sacrifice of time, you know. We also have, of course, which I talked about, the RISE initiative, which I was a safety net project coordinator for a while, where, you know, youth are experiencing severe mental health issues, anxiety, you know, and things of that nature. And it's important to look past, you know, it's the old saying that, you know, they're just kids. They can't have anger management. They can't need anger management. They can't have anxiety. They can't be scared, but they hear gunshots every day. 13 WMAZ reports on violence every day. They go to school and some of their classmates are no longer with us after they've left and went home for a weekend. So they're dealing with a lot of stress and trauma, you know, that needs to be addressed, which brings me next to Making Mental Health Matters, which allows our community to receive free mental health services. All you have to do is ask. And I'd like to give a, you know, just give you know, Andrea Cook her flowers for what she's done or what's available to this community, because not only are there pop-up shops where they offer mental health services, they also offer parenting classes, they offer stress relief techniques. There's a multitude of things that are offered. And I just would ask that the community seek those things, because the programs have been put in place to, you know, for the community to access. And I also like to challenge everyone who hears this interview to understand that we have violence is an evolving problem. What worked in 1998 is not going to work in 2022. I think that it's very important for not only, you know, those that have been doing this and laying the groundwork to be active. I think it's important that we collaborate, you know, new ideas with some of the old ideas that have worked, and continue to build on that, because the giants, should I say, of this community that have been doing this for years, they're tired. They're tired. It's going to take more than the people that have been doing it for 30 years. You know, it's going to take people who live in this community that take an interest, a common interest in making sure that this is a safe place for our children to be. We started with the 5 violence interrupters. They've been active for about a quarter or two with Cure Violence, where they actually go to shooting incidents. They're stationed in Pleasant Hill right now. So within 72 hours of a violent crime, they are in that community trying to prevent retaliation, trying to mediate problems. And I commend them for doing that, because there's not a lot of people that go directly to a place where people have guns, you know, and violent acts are taking place. We also have the Community Empowerment Center, who's doing our late night basketball. I commend them as well. Mr. Roger Jackson with Motivating Youth, who's providing employment opportunities for those who are re-entering our community, as well as those who just lack some of the skills that it takes to fill out a resume. You know, that's super important. Miss Shakita Maxwell with Royal Science, who's doing STEM and trying to integrate science into sports to give our youth another outlook on how to use their anger. And then Miss Ernestine Brody with Lois's Kids and the Star Coalition, whose objective is to teach, you know, conflict resolution. I think that's a big problem that we don't talk about. You know, they don't know how to resolve conflict without violence. So that's important. And then the 25 recipients of the violence MVP grant that were just gone out, and I'll talk about a couple. There's a list on the Community Foundation if you want to look at all 25. But I want to talk about Next Level Community Center. They're doing a lot. We did a cleanup with them, and they had about 90 kids. And on the following day, they took some of them to Washington, D.C., and the other did a lock-in trip at the Georgia Aquarium. Chess and community is huge, because there's not a lot, I don't know a lot of adults who can play chess. So you're talking about teaching the youth a different skill that can translate worldwide. You're talking about a conversation starter. Chess is one of those. And then Grow Macon is in Fort Hill, where a young lady has, you know, dedicated herself to come back from Atlanta to serve the youth here in her home and teach them how to grow, you know, how to put that energy into something positive. You know, it takes a lot to learn about soil, and, you know, the benefit of it is thinking, it's critical thinking in that. And I think that's very important, that we do that. So that right now, those are some of the programs that we have going. Again, you can visit the Community Foundation's website to look at all 25 organizations, what they have to offer. And there's also a link on the Macon Violence Prevention page where you can sign up to be a volunteer, because I'm more than sure they're going to need a lot of volunteers for the services that they're providing.
That's outstanding, and I really appreciate your kind of apprising the community of the efforts that are going on to try to address the problems that we're having in the community. And see, one of the problems, then I want to suggest this to you.
Okay.
One of the problems is that we have to provide more positive exposure to those programs that you talked about. I'd be willing to do an email blast on them, but somehow, if in fact nothing succeeds like success, so if in fact we can begin to demonstrate and illustrate to the community that, hey, we're working on it. You might read every day that somebody got shot and somebody got killed, but by the same token, there are 50 or 100 people working on trying to resolve the problem, just like Mr. Denard and those ministers are doing with the Just Walk Away initiative. So if you would, but the thing, Dr. Grissom, the thing is that I think it's incumbent upon us to kind of, motivate the general public, the everyday Joe, the retired people, the lady sitting on a porch, the neighborhood organizations. So talk a little bit about how maybe people who are not part of, and then I think you need to explain, the MVP program as it relates to the recipients a little more. And then talk about how, you don't need a title or position to be involved in addressing the problem we're having in this community.
I first like to start by giving credit where credit's due for the event that took place this weekend. That was not a Macon Violence Prevention initiative. However, they took it upon themselves to do what they knew that their community needed. And it doesn't always take the commission or the mayor. It takes us all. So they saw a problem. They did what they thought would be good to address the problem. They collaborated amongst themselves and did something that needed to be done. And I applaud the effort, because that's what we need more of. You don't have to be connected to MVP to do good work in this community, because people have been doing that for years before MVP came along. It's good to collaborate as well. I think there were 5 to 6 pastors. I'm not sure exactly how many, but I've been made aware they had a good turnout, and that's important because it lets not only the community know, but it lets those know who are perpetrating violent acts that we are fighting back against this. And again, I commend them for doing that. And I also like to commend those who have continued to do this work that have not gotten the public attention, who do it because they know that the community needs it. And I also like to let them know that I am open, to partnership. If there's any way that I can assist, I think some of the organizations, some people have come to me and said, give me $5,000. I'm doing violence intervention. And that's not how it works. I don't walk around with a checkbook or have a budget to give people a little, but there are ways to get things done. But let's talk about the process of the MVP grants and how they took place. I want to say at the beginning of this year or March, they allowed proposals. So they allowed people to submit proposals. They gave a guideline of what needed to be in the proposals, as far as what points needed to be hit, that it had to align with the strategic plan, that it had to be something new and innovative. I mean, the people who are working, we appreciate their efforts, but it needs to be something new to fit a new problem. Even if some programs have to be revamped, so to speak, what has been done has not really curbed violence like we need it to. So there might be one organization that's doing one thing that's missing one piece, and we encourage those who have received MVP grants to collaborate together on a unified front to show them that we're attacking this problem together. Also, what we've also found is in doing these MVP grants, we are being allowed to educate those who do good work that may not necessarily have the know-how on how to do a proposal. There are people who are great at grassroots work. They get in the trenches and they do the work, but they don't have an accountant. They don't know how important it is to keep track of spending once you receive the grant, so to speak. And so we're actually finding that we're able to teach some organizations who have the structure that need just a little bit more help, because if we're going to make this sustainable, we want to build those organizations to be strong in every way so that, they can continue the good work that they're doing. But we allowed them to fill out a proposal. They had a committee that looked at the proposals, voted on the proposals. But here's one thing that I think is not being reported. Those who did not receive the grant were encouraged to apply the next time. And I encourage them to also talk to those who received the grants. No doesn't mean no forever. No means not this time. That's it. And so there might have been something that needed to be added. There might have been a program already in place doing what was requested of that organization. But I also challenge them to not be discouraged and to continue doing that work, whether they partner or whether they continue doing it how they've been doing it. But that's not the last time these grants will be out. And I'm openly available to answer some of those questions. I think even through this process, which I credit the Community Foundation with, if there was something that was not understood, they took that time to interview those organizations at another time to give them time to answer those questions. So I think that's a lot of the things that's not being reported. So 501c3, I think, is a big thing to have so that you can be a recipient of federal grant funds. And then knowing how federal grants work is important.
Yeah, that's important, Jeremy. But I also think you need to expound a little bit more, if you would, on the fact that, it takes a village. So if somebody has an idea, it doesn't have to be formal and it doesn't have to be about money. There might be ways to get, a couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars there to get the job done. But I'm thinking that what I'm hearing you say is that you want all kind of ideas. You want everybody involved because it affects everybody. Is that not correct?
Absolutely. I can't even begin to count the number of individuals that I've talked to in this community that know we have this problem and they want to help. They might not know how. I've even had someone say, "Hey, I don't know what I want to do, but I'm here. I am here to offer my services." And it's very easy to get behind a computer and criticize the county commissioners and the mayor. That's the easy part. It's very easy to complain about the problem that we have, but the solutions are what we need. And I encourage people to come to the commissioners' meetings. They're open to the public in most cases, unless they go into executive session. And there's a chance to come and hear what's happening, what's not happening. And I do openly invite anyone that has an idea. If I can't help, I will point you in the direction of somebody that can. There's not a lack of resources here. The resources are here. You just have to seek the resources and be open to understanding that sometimes that might look a little different from how you imagined it. But if you're truly committed to assisting everyone in this community solve the problem, I think that whatever that outcome is, as long as it's positive, should suffice, for all of us trying to solve this problem. So I am openly available to that.
That's outstanding. how should one, what methodology should one use to kind of get in touch with you, or advice you want to give? You want to give
Yes.
us maybe an email or phone number, or what would be the best way? Because we don't want you bombarded, but there may
Well,
be people with some ideas that.
well, my email is Grissom, so that's JGRISSOM at Macon-Bibb.us. Again, that's Grissom at Macon-Bibb.us. Or my cell phone number is 478-954-9275. And if anyone does not have access to that information, they can come to City Hall. I have cards at the front desk. I can respond to email or text or phone call, whichever is appropriate. A lot of the times I am out in the community. This morning, myself and someone from the sheriff's office and Making Mental Health Matters, we went out to Chambers Road behind the Walmart to see how we can assist. So, that's why I'm not as snazzy as you are today. I got on my, my polo because I've been out in the woods, but, if I don't answer you right away, I'll definitely call you back. Please leave a message or send me an email, whichever you prefer. And we can definitely discuss it. I don't mind meeting, assisting with any ideas and just trying to get us, continue to build on what we've already done. So again,
well, we're about running out of time, Jeremy, but let me congratulate you, man, and pledge my support to what you're doing and, all of the endeavors. And I mean, if we pull together and come together and everybody, just get in the mix, and come up with their ideas, volunteer whenever possible, I think we can lick this thing in a year or two from now, be bragging on how we have tackled the problem. I have been interviewing Mr. Jeremy Grissom, who's the MVP coordinator, amongst other things, for our community, doing an outstanding job, very conscientious. Keep up the good work. I pledge my support again. And I am Alex E. Havisham, your host for a call to action. Remember, it takes a village, and you're part of that village. So be involved and get involved. Have a great day.
www.makingblackpages.com. Get ready, Central Georgia.
This is Alex Havisham, publisher of the Macon, Middle Georgia Black Pages. I'm happy to inform the community, particularly business owners, that we're working on a new edition of the Macon, Middle Georgia Black Pages and Resource Guide.
Coming soon.